group or like a one-to-one, just to get them prepared and just get them to learn more.
Oh, here we go. Here's Casey. Awesome, Chey.
I always like to be very technical. Mostly it's to get the passing going. Who are you talking to? Even though it's even though I'm doing 5%.
Chey, hold on 2 seconds, mate. I'm just checking if we can get Kevin in here. Okay, and I'm trying to hear him. We'll start.
Yeah, no worries.
Right, can you all just go on mute for a sec, and I'll see if I can hear him.
Harry.
Hello, Kev. How you doing, mate?
All right, mate. You all right?
Not bad. I can't, for some reason, can't see you. Is that supposed to be?
Let me just have a look, mate. 2 seconds.
You should, like, on the bottom left, you should have a camera, and that camera should open your camera.
I've got to allow the video access. Bear with me 2 seconds, mate.
No,
no, it's not working.
Are you on your phone, or you're on?
I'm on an iPad.
You're on an iPad. It's
Yeah.
weird. You should be able to just access your video.
Okay.
Can everybody else hear Kevin, or is it just me?
Yeah, I can hear him. I just can't see.
Yeah, same. Yeah, 2 seconds, mate. I'll try and, unless you want to carry on, and I'll try and do it while we're on.
Yeah, that's fine, mate. That's fine. Well, to be honest with you, I mean, we only need your voice. We don't have to see you. You know, it's not a huge...
I don't think you'd want to, mate.
Right. Okay, guys. So we're just going to quickly introduce each other, and I'm going to quickly explain why we're here or what we're trying to do. Brian and I had a conversation the other day after interacting with quite a few different coaches, and we're finding that there's loads of stuff out there. We're seeing loads of stuff posted on Twitter, loads of webinars and all these different things, which is great from a consuming level, but it's not really great for networking. So we believe that there was kind of like a spot in the market where we could try and help coaches network between each other. Someone's making a lot of noise. Just go on mute, and when you want to talk, unmute it. It's probably better for everyone. If everybody just goes on mute, and then if somebody wants to, talk, we'll just take it off. That's fine. So basically what we decided to do, after a lot of debating on different Instagram stories and whatnot with a lot of my following, and speaking with Ryan, we decided that it could be good for coaches and for ourselves just to get into a room with no filters, no conditions, really. Nobody here needs to worry about who's an A license, B license, level 1, level 2. It's just about sharing our different opinions and topics and trying to keep it short, precise, and clear. So what we're going to ask you to do initially is just quickly, in less than 1 minute, okay, try not to, just basically try and introduce yourself as a coach, as a person, as whatever you're doing, just to give us a little bit of a feeling of where you come from, who you are, what age group you're dealing with, and maybe 1 or 2 problems you deal with on a daily basis. Okay, so Paul, if you want to start.
I'm always getting chose to go first. Well, coaching wise, been doing about 3 or 4 years in total since I got my level 1. Currently on my level 2, still not signed off for that yet because it's took the longest course I've ever done in my life. Started it in October 2018, still not finished it because it's been very slow. Coach in schools throughout the week for work, and then I've got a team of under 8s and under 9s at the minute, and work with Harry and Ryan at the manga when possible. Really, should be out there now. Sadly not, unfortunately.
And the problem that you deal with on day-to-day basis in youth football.
Problem. I said I don't.
Oh, fucking hell! We found him. You got all the answers.
What, me? No. Mine are so little. There's not many problems with the kids. It's normally just the parents, to be fair. So.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I haven't come across any big problems yet, really. Touch
nice.
wood.
James. Take the mute off, mate, because we can't hear you.
There we go. Yeah, so I've been coaching about 3 or 4 years as well within football. I'm at Preston North End at the moment in the pre-academy with the under-6s there and an under-9s development group. Currently sitting on my B licence with Ryan. So we've been going through that together, obviously until things struck. But in terms of a problem that we face in terms of in youth development football, I think sometimes it's difficult to kind of battle with the concentration of the kids. So when you're trying to kind of give them details and stuff, it's trying to obviously manage your details so that you can get it in whilst they're concentrating, so that you kind of use it within that span of attention they've got, and that you don't lose them while you're trying to give out kind of important information.
So you currently work with under 6, under 7s?
Yeah, so there's an under-6 group I've got, and then an under-9 development group.
Okay, and you work alongside Ryan as well, or is it something that you do individually?
No, we work together as a coaching pair in the under-6 age group, so we kind of speak quite a lot about this, not a problem, but the issue we sometimes have in regards to the kind of looking at concentration of the kids and trying to get our detail out fast, well, not fast enough, but concise enough so that they can take that on board.
How much seconds do you think that a kid of 6, 7-year-old has of attention?
Not a lot.
From
experience, yeah, not a great deal.
Yeah, I think it's hard. It's always a hard matter to engage with younger age groups, and like James works with our under 6s in the Manga Club as well. I mean, it's something we discussed, Ryan and I, yesterday. He said he was saying about it was stimulating. What was it you mentioned yesterday, Ryan?
Talking about creating like little kind of keywords for them, weren't we? So JMO, you remember we talked about the surf and poke?
Yeah.
So me and Harry kind of spoke at length about how that's actually really useful for the kids.
Yeah, and how they engage with it really, really quickly and quite easily rather than these complex words. So moving to Kev. What up, Kev? Can you hear us? You might be on mute.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, cool, man. Give us a bit of background.
Well, I've only obviously been doing it about 3 years. I coach under 10s, 2 under 10 teams. The only problems that I really find, which ain't really a problem which you expect, is obviously like mixed ability. Some players pick up things quicker than others, and like obviously where you're working with mixed abilities, you're not set. So obviously some take longer to learn, and when they come to training after school, whatever, the concentration levels, you don't know if they're tired or what their week's been like. So it's just the basic problems that we find, really. Nothing too spectacular or anything.
Okay. Chey?
Hi there. I'm Chey. I've been a football coach for like 6 years. For 6 years, I coach for Northwood Youth Football Club. I'm an under-8 coach, well, under-9s when the season is officially over and, after the lockdown's finished. But as I said from earlier, I'm very, very technical with just teaching my players how to pass, dribble, shoot, when to dribble, when to pass. And just trying to do more of the foundation phase before I progress it and make it more challenging. Before I joined my club, I used to be a soccer school coach. So I do after-school clubs, Saturday football, holiday camps, and all that. Holiday camps.
A problem that you deal with, Chey? Is there a problem that you deal with on a daily basis?
Pardon?
Is there a problem that you deal with on a daily basis? Is there a problem? Are you in a situation where there's a problem?
Well, not too much. Not too much knowledge. Just more of it's not too much knowledge. Just more of the game time and trying to balance, just to make sure that they all get to have a goal on the pitch. When to stop them on, when to stop them on, when to stop them off, and just try to, just try to teach them as well as teaching myself, really. The season has been cancelled. That's our debut season. So we just got the next season, which could be a 7-a-side, and that's when my team gets to be under 9s, and for me to
Going on that topic, you just arose before. Ryan, do you want to introduce the first point that we're going to discuss? Just because we've got 30 minutes, and obviously there's 6 of us, so we're going to try and quicken it up a little bit. Try and when we get into answering, if everybody answers with long answers, we're not going to have enough time. So try and keep them short, try and keep them precise. And if, at the end of the day, we don't need to explain why we're coaching our philosophy, that can be another day. Today, we're going to focus on 3 different topics. So what we're going to discuss today, Rye, if you want to introduce the first topic, it would be cool.
Yeah. So, of course, obviously you can see it on the screen there. Are we as a whole coaching community, are we becoming too focused on tactics? I'll start us off that I believe that we are. Obviously, the higher the age group, I think, the more an impact.
Can you explain that question? Because you came up with that question. Just to put a bit around, what's the reason? What's the main reasons that you came up with that question? Where are you sitting? Take the problem that you think there is.
So if you go onto social media, you can find tens, maybe hundreds of just football tactics pages. You can read them, all the data that they drive and crunch and kind of formulate for yourself is visible to everyone. But when is it enough? When is it too much? I think that there's got to be a point that we're not just looking at tactics, we're actually looking at player development, we're actually looking at developing these personal relationships and not just going, if we set up in a 3-5-2, we will beat this 4-4-2 today.
What do we actually think about formations anyway? Do we think they're necessary?
I think I've always believed that, kind of personally, that everything will always fall back to a 4-3-3. Because if you put the ball in a different context and you shuffle your players to it, say on a whiteboard, you will always find a version of a 4-3-3.
Mm-hmm. Have you read the book Inverted Pyramid?
Right there.
Yeah, well, that's going to give you a lot of answers on this this aspect. So, what's your outtake of? Is it too focused or not? Do you believe it is? It isn't?
Yeah, I do. I believe it is, because I think there's a lot more that goes into winning games and developing players than a tactics focused mind.
Does anybody have a different opinion on this?
I wouldn't say I'm different to Ryan, but I think a lot of it is trying to show to everyone how much you know. Like, all the parents come to watch a session, and I think a lot of coaches still think, like, I need to show to these parents what I know so much about football. Where in reality,
it ends up being a competition between who knows more, the parents or the coach, and shit like that.
It's better for the coach just to dumb it down and do what they're good at and what he's good at, rather than, I'm going to make my 7-year-olds play 7v2 rondo, this, that, the other, put them in position, show them this, that, the other. They're just trying to show on of everyone else that they know a lot, I think, when in reality they should just do simple stuff, strip it back and take it bit by bit.
James, what do you think?
I think for me it's about kind of creating that culture rather than kind of focusing too much on tactics. So a lot of people, like Ryan said, you go on social media, you see kind of all this stuff about tactics, and if you play a certain way, you'll be able to combat somebody else's style. And I think at the end of the day, like, I personally anyway, like, some of the characteristics I look for in players is kind of them players that are hungry to kind of improve and to become better, and look at like a team culture rather than kind of really focusing on tactics too much. I think kind of like the player.
When would we introduce tactics?
When would you introduce it?
Yeah, when would you introduce a player the knowledge of having an understanding of what a 4-4-2 is?
I think obviously not just a 4-4-2, but I think other formations you could probably start to implement little bits of it into kind of academy level. So from maybe under-9s upwards, you might kind of drip feed it in. But I think for me, a big focus will be around kind of personality and kind of implementing different kind of traits, if you like, into players to kind of get them to where they need to be.
I find it's really, really interesting, the fact that everybody talks about 4-4-2 and 4-3-2-1 and 4-2-3-1 and all these different tactics. But I mean, Ryan posted it, I think, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, the importance of understanding what a 5-a-side is. if you're not able to understand a 1v1 situation, a 2v1 situation, a 2v2 situation, just playing a game of 3v3, if you're not understanding that, if you haven't got the capacity to understand that tactically, how on earth are you going to have the capacity to understand 11v11? And everybody.
Sorry, Harry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think what you just said there about what we spoke about the other night is that I think it rings relevance. Obviously, it can ring relevance through every single age group from under 6 to under 21s. First team, that 1v1 and 2v2 and 3v3 are so crucial, that because if you were to take a photo of the game, or say take a photo of the football in an 11v11, you're probably going to see it's just breaking down into small 3v3 games, or 2v2
totally
or 1v1s. So why don't we instill that as early as we can? And then they're used to seeing this on the pitch.
But the tactics that are shared on social media, a lot of them, they're in such depth of people that are analysing.
And it's for 11v11?
Yeah, it's for 11v11, where 90% of the coaches, well, I wouldn't say 90%, sorry, but I would say a good 60% of the coaches, or at least grassroots coaches that are actually the ones who are willing to learn on social media, are actually looking for something new, something engaging. They're working in 7v7 or 5v5 or 9v9, and they're trying to implement these 11v11 situations and try and give that to their players, when you've got to simplify it so much to get where you need to go for it to be accessible to a player of that age. Kev, we can't see you, so if you do want you want to buy in or say something, just go ahead, because I can't see your mute, I can't see your camera, I can't see anything. So what's your thoughts on this?
Well, obviously, I only play 7v7 at the moment, and obviously with different ability players and stuff, I always find it key is that obviously if you break it down into 1v1s, if you win your 1v1, then obviously you've got a good chance. Because obviously, if a goalkeeper wins his battle against a centre forward, then the goals don't go into, the other team can't score, etc., etc. So it's just breaking it down and letting the players express themselves. And with regards to formation, we do like to play like a 2-3-1, obviously, because obviously we're only 7 aside, but we're not rigid in any sort of way. We're flexible with the approach we take, and we let players play in different positions. And because we're only a grassroots club with like mixed ability, we're just obviously letting the players express themselves, and we'll tell them, make the decision: is it better to dribble, better to pass? So we're just trying to get them to think for themselves and make decisions, and try and help them and ask them questions so they can find the answers for themselves.
It all comes down to something you said there. It all comes down to 1v1.
Yeah, that's what I believe. I mean,
always, if you reduce all of it, if you reduce 11v11, it's just 11 situations of 1v1.
Yeah, so we do like a lot of like we might do a 5 vs 3 or whatever, just to get them thinking, decision makings, whether that's overloads, underloads, and things like that. But we just want them to learn for themselves and ask themselves the questions and try and find the answers. But obviously we're there to help. But I think essentially a 1v1, if you can, whether that's beating a player, defending, scoring, I just think a 1v1, you need to be good in that position, in any position on the pitch. If you can win your 1v1s, you stand a chance. Yeah,
you already create the overload, don't you? You've now got an overload in the next zone of play. As soon as you're able to win a 1v1 battle, the other team is under a disadvantage, or you're under an advantage. Anyway, Chey, you said something before about equal playing time, so we can move straight into the next topic, and you can start us off with your thoughts on equal playing time in youth development. Do you currently have equal playing time for all your players? Do some play more than others? Do you think it's possible to have equal playing time? Just a few questions to throw out there.
To be honest with you, I'm actually like half and half, whether it's possible or impossible at times, because usually I'm always trying to balance the minutes, whether it's just put one player on, whether it's putting two players on, and itself, and just fact that like my team is like very, very different in a very good way, whereas like I didn't want to try and make it a bit too basic, even though they're quite young itself, but just want to let them just play their very best in their preferred position.
Chey, Chey, listen
yeah.
to me. Have you got yourself a cup of tea?
No.
That's the issue. That's the issue. You feel get yourself a cup of tea, make yourself a cup of tea, and come and sit down with the lads and have a chat. Because you look like you're trying to. You don't need to demonstrate anything here. We're just here to have a chat about things. So calm yourself down, get yourself a cup of tea, get yourself a glass of water. Okay, think about the topic, and then I want you to try and answer me back. Okay, with a direct answer on the topic. You don't need to say sorry. Fuck that. I'm just saying that I want you to feel comfortable with us and enjoy yourself and not worry about what you're saying. You know, if you say fuck, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So, Ryan,
I'll kick us off on this.
Kick us off. Yeah. Let's go.
So, I think I'd also like to get the James McGowan's input on this, because I think going through the age groups that we're working on at the minute, mate, it's obviously me and you. I think we feel the same about, it should be equal playing time to give them this freedom to go and explore. And, you're not going to get a parent coming and saying, my kid's played 10 minutes and blah, 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 has played 30 minutes. And you're not getting that argument back and forth. You're developing that harmony. You can also prove, they've had the equal chance to develop. We've given them this match time experience. And, some are going to develop at quicker rates than others, but we've just got to kind of trust that process that they're going through. But I think that what we do at Preston at the moment with the under sixes not playing games is actually more beneficial for them. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think it comes to, I kind of agree with the equal playing time, but I think it comes to some extent where we got to look at kind of motivation levels, I think, in some regards, as if to say, if some people are maybe struggling or they feel maybe more under pressure because, I don't know, they're new into that environment. For example, if we get a new player coming in and they feel under pressure, it might be that that's maybe affecting them. So maybe bringing them off for a little bit and maybe giving them maybe less playing time so they can stand and watch it and get used to that environment might be more beneficial for them.
I like that.
It depends on what.
Yeah, I think what you're saying there is really important. I think that's knowing your players as well. That's so important that we've got a new lad. He's quite shy. Let's just maybe work him in. Let's not play 90 minutes straight. Let's give him 20 minutes here and there. He'll get to know the group and we get to play them better.
But how comfortable are we making it? The thing is, this is the massive issue I've got with it. I don't believe in equal playing time. I don't believe in it because I don't
even
think.
At under 6 level, under 7 level.
I think under sixes, you should go to a game and everybody should be playing because there's, a sense of if it's a 7. The thing is with under sixes, this is the way I see it. We go to a match and I've got 7 players and he's got 8 players. We do a 3v3 with a floater over there and we do a 3v3 over here. Everybody's playing. As soon as, this is just my take. Obviously, you guys, you work maybe in a structure where you haven't got that possibility. I'm saying from a point of view, if I was part of the FA, I wouldn't have under sixes playing any matches except from if it's between them. Because really, what's the point at the age of under 6 going up against somebody anyway? If it was to happen, fine, okay. We have 7 players, they have 9 players, and we make it happen where everybody's playing the whole time. Why do we need to play a 7-a-side game or a 6-a-side game or a 5-a-side game? Let's play a 3v3 and a 2v2.
I think we kind of echoed it last night, didn't we, when we were talking, Harry, that, if you've got, even at, say, the level of under 15s, under 16s, where you've got sometimes 20 players, just create 2 teams. Why are you stressing yourself out trying to get, 10 players on it, 2 sets of 10 players on at different times? Just give yourself 2 teams, get yourself another manager.
You give more work, you give a new opportunity for players.
What are the drawbacks of that?
Yeah, the only thing they would say is, one, the cost related to, I don't know how it works in the UK, but here in Spain, it's 18 players. Why? Because it covers the cost of the season. But it's costing, the way I angle it is it's costing 5 players a season. You know what I mean? It's not costing them a season in money. It's costing them a season in game time, in playing time, in actual experience, in learning. That's what it's costing them. So what would you say Pope, to those parents that might be out there under sixes or under sevens that might be, you know, a bit worried about this scenario and this situation?
Can I just jump in first with something I was going to say to Ryan about
Yeah,
playing time?
Go.
So linking it to myself with my under nines, I had a goalkeeper last season who wanted to be a goalkeeper at 5v5. And then after the season, he came and said, "Oh, I don't want to be a goalkeeper. I want to play outfield." And so we said, "Yeah, we'll go for it." First game he's playing like across, I think was it James before saying, or Kev with a three in the middle and one like central midfielder. He played there. Then after 10 minutes, he was looking really not himself, and he kind of like came to me and said, "I don't feel comfortable," and he came off and he was in tears because he was just so overwhelmed by it. So I think back to what Ryan says, you've got to kind of know your players and know when they need that bit of, "Oh no, you come off now, have a chat, make you better, and then go back on again later," if you know what I mean.
And maybe be able to give him some feedback without shouting, no? I suppose.
Yeah.
It's not the same talking to a kid on his own than talking to a kid, you know, over 10 or even there might be 50 people there or 10 people, it doesn't matter. If you can sit down and talk to someone, it's always the message is always going to get there a lot more than shouting across. And this is something that I've done 1,000 times and I do it wrong so many times, which you realize late, don't you? You bring the kid off. We're talking now maybe older age groups, but it would have probably been better to, you know, just have a chat with him when he calms down. And what you do is you bring him off, and that testosterone and that situation that he's angry because he's come off, and you try and have a talk to him then. It's also knowing what players you can talk to directly after when they're tired and under fatigue, and what players, you know, you need to let them have a shower, chill out, relax, maybe two days, and then get to a training session. You have to talk to them there. So
yeah, definitely, it's all about knowing your players and know how you've got to be to get your point across to them. You might know with one player, like say, you can shout instructions from one side to the other. The other one, you've got to pull them off, have a quiet word with them, and then find out when they're ready to go and give it a go again. But if you don't know your players, then you're gonna lose their interest.
James, sorry, I think that's a really nice kind of way to finish it there. Kind of for that topic, I think what you're saying there is a really good kind of ideal world scenario, isn't it? But I think, should we move on to point 3?
I think at the end of the day, just before we move on, I think what James has just said there about kind of dealing with players in different ways, I think that comes down to us as coaches and how our leadership and how we manage the situations within a game or within training. I think that's really important. But what he spoke about, like some people, like yes, you might go and speak to them straight away, and you might do it in like maybe a command style because that's how they respond better. I watched a documentary of Sir Alex Ferguson the other night, The Secret to Success, and that goes into detail about it really well, about how he dealt with like Ryan Giggs, Scholes and Cantona and stuff, and how he always tracked Cantona differently because that's what he needed.
About that one as well. Yeah. It's an interesting case, that one. Cool. So we've got a little bit of time left for the last one. So it's Kev, I'm going to start you off with this one. You still there, man, my friend?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm here.
Cool, man. When do we start training? That should be with. No. That is correct. When do we start training without a ball? Okay, I have put that correctly.
Well, like I say, because obviously the team that I've been a few years now, so we've been 8s, 9s, and 10s, and we always try to do everything with a ball because obviously the more comfortable they are on the ball, technically, like obviously, like at the age group players, they develop at different stages, whether that's in their ability or their physical size and stuff. But we just want our players to be comfortable on the ball, so we try and do like from the start of the training session to a finish, we always have a ball involved in every single exercise. So I think at the age we're at, I think it's crucial for the ball always to be. Obviously, there's different age groups and stuff we got. We need to maybe work on fitness and stuff like that. But
what age group would you call that one? What age group?
Well, I've not really dealt with it, but maybe when you start getting to like 14s or 15s, maybe, or maybe even a bit below. Just obviously, you know, if they've been off for summer, you might send them away, tell them to keep busy and stuff. But yeah, I mean, you could judge it by sort of what level you're at, I suppose. I mean, if you're at grassroots, you know, they're not going to go if you're like you know, they're not going to go and do training over the summer, are they? They're going to want to go on their holidays and not kick a ball and not go for a jog or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But as I say, the age we're at, we just try and do everything with a ball.
Yeah, and just kind of echo Kev's point there. I completely agree with that. That if we're not training with a football, let's just put them on an athletics track and let them run, because that's all we're doing. You know, if you want to make physically fit footballers, give them a ball and challenge them to go and take on 1v1 situations or match situations where they're running with the ball, they're making movements creative that are related to the game. They're not just running in straight
We
lines.
discussed this yesterday, didn't we?
Exactly.
About even if you get them running, like get them running around the pitch, you know, get them running around the pitch doing passes to each other. You know, if you're gonna do something related with it, you know, let's take the worst case scenario. This is what a lot of coaches use as discipline and all this bullshit or BS. Let's just say that you're a coach and that's the way you like to do it. If you're gonna do it, there's better ways of doing it than just getting them to run on the outside of the track. You know, to give them a ball between 4 players, you got to run around the pitch, just passing the ball one touch all the time. And you can have them running there for an hour if you want, or half an hour, but at least it's going to be more beneficial than just running.
For me, it comes down to their expectations, doesn't it? Like, linking it back to us, Harry, the manga, when we do a fitness session, they know that you're working on their fitness, and then they've got a football session as well. It's like if you take your kids swimming, how much of that session are you expecting to not be in a swimming pool? You're there to play football, really, aren't you? So, fair enough, you might not play football all the time, but you want to at least have a ball involved, so you're working towards your football goals.
Yeah,
if you want to help their fitness, there's lots out there that you could share with them, isn't there? And say, go and have a try at this at home.
Mm-hmm. No, totally. I totally agree. I think everybody's on the same wavelength. But the question comes to what age group would we? Because I think like everybody here agrees that, you know, at the younger end, it should be 100% with the ball in some way or form. But when do we start training without the ball? When would you set that age of saying, now we need to start developing physically, and there's certain things that we can't do, like, for example, gym sessions and stuff like that. When would you start introducing that to your team?
I think that only comes into it when the physical maturity starts to come in. So, you know, going through 13s to 16s, when, you know, the lads are starting to grow, they're starting to get bigger. But I think I think that a lot of that should be down to them, and obviously they can work with the clubs, you know, the physios, the strength and conditioning coaches. But I think that can be a lot down to them and how much they kind of want it and how much work they're willing to do away from your training session. Because, you know, as much as we can give them, we can't give them everything to make them a pro footballer. There's going to be stuff that they're going to have to do away from the pitch on their own, you know, with a parent. But I think that we never should not train without a ball, does that make sense?
Yep, I agree.
I think that, you know, with football coaches, like you were saying, Harry, if we're not that, we're foot coaches.
Yep.
And it's, you know, that's not what we're employed to do.
I like that. So this is the scenario or the situation we're in. This is coming to an end, okay? There's 2 minutes left on the clock. So there's a decision to be made. Do you want to continue and drag this on, and we can go into sort of Q&A, a little bit of a Q&A, or is everybody happy? That's the 30 minutes, and they're happy, and we can stop it here.
Well, I'm easy either way. I mean, I can stay, or if you want to wrap it up, I'm free. So.
Okay, Chey?
I'm going to continue. I've got till about 8 o'clock.
Either way, I don't mind.
Okay.
I mean, I'm happy I'm happy with whichever.
Okay, mate. James?
Yeah, I can carry on. That's fine. I've still got time.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to re-invite you all to another call. We're going to open it up, and we're going to just finish discussing this topic. There's something that I need to ask from you guys as well. It's not money, don't worry.
Are you sure?
It takes 2 seconds. It takes 2 seconds. Okay, and it's just to help. The same as it's just a screenshot. Anyway, I'm going to re-invite you, and then we'll do a little Q&A as well. If you want to ask any particular coach a certain question on a topic, okay, and then we'll wrap it up in about 10-15 minutes. Is that good?
Cool.
Yeah, Perfect.
Okay, so I'll re-invite you in 2 seconds, guys.
No, if I say James, it's you. If I say James, it's you.
I'm bored now. Like, how are you coping?
All right, at least I've got Alex. You know, Alex is climbing the walls,
Yeah.
so I can train him a lot. But,
Yeah, you can do your bits with him.
Yeah, exactly. I think we
I've
both
done the fence, to be fair.
You've done the fence.
Did the fence for the past 3 weeks.
Oh God. Is everybody all right though? Everybody's family's good.
Yeah, everyone's good over here for now.
Is there still enough toilet roll in the supermarket? It does calm down after week 3, doesn't it? Oh, people went mental, man. They must have actually gone absolutely lunatic, the people that are actually the providers. Like, some of the providers must have thought, oh, this is the best time of our lives.
Have you not seen the little corner shops, Harry, that were selling like hand wash for like £12 just because they knew people had to buy it?
You're joking.
And toilet roll for like
that hand sanitizer. I bought one from the shop for £1.50, and I checked on like Amazon a few weeks later, and it was $34.99. $34.99 it was. I couldn't believe it.
That's crazy.
That's mad.
1 sec. Okay, there's Chey. Right, so just getting back on topic. So we were just discussing, if I'm not mistaken, about when we would start training without a ball and when we would start with the gym sessions, because you know, physicality, when it does get into 14, 15, 16 years old, there's a huge difference between a player that's prepared physically and the player that isn't prepared physically. So when would you start training without a ball? When would you really go in, you know, 100% in not only working about their development tactically, technically, psychologically, and socially, but also physically in a kind of like a separate area?
I think a lot of the time you can use your physical development. You can do it with a football. So I know I've done a bit of research into it before. So Mourinho and Guardiola brought the idea of tactical periodization.
Mm-hmm.
So they went through and obviously discussed all their tactics with their squad for the season through the pre-season fitness, and they linked it in together. And that's kind of the main concept behind it, is that all their tactics and their theories for the season against different opposition were all going to get linked into their pre-season fitness training. So they did most of it with a ball anyway.
So could you give us an example of like an exercise that could be linked of this type of tactical periodization?
I think you could link it to anything really, in terms of maybe some of the tactics or the activities you might run through to kind of get some of them ideas out. And I think it's just kind of linking them pre-season fitness drills in with the football and making it more kind of realistic and relevant to the game itself. Ultimately, it's the game, isn't it?
No, totally. And there was because there was a different approach as well. It's kind of like, because you know, you've got right backs that do a lot of crossing the ball instead of doing sprints there and sprints back, where you do a sprint and then you cross a ball. You know, and I think this is a similar situation to what they were trying to do, kind of like create the scenarios that these players will be doing very often. And obviously a player that plays a winger and a player that plays right and left back, they need to have two different types of aerobic physical conditioning. One, you want to have a spark and you want him to be able to exploit acceleration. And the other one, you want to be able to recover position. You want him to be able to do longer distances. So if I'm not mistaken, what I believe this is kind of like in pre-season, can we work on the physical part of the game directly related to the role that they have in the tactics? And can we also add in kind of like technical aspects? Because at the end of the day, running and getting it to the end line and then whipping it across under, you know, after running a certain amount of time is important. Same as when you do corners and you do set pieces. It's not the same if you're in a game scenario when you've got 17 minutes, you know, in your chest and in your physical conditioning, and taking a free kick and thinking, right, we've got play 1, play 2, play 3, play 4. The thing is, this is the difference between American football and as they call it there, soccer. That they stop, they stop, they can think, they've got about a minute or 2 or 3 minutes to discuss what they're going to do. And that's why I don't think there's so many set plays in football, because it's very, very emotional, very based on instinct, very based on the situation that you're in. You've got to deal with it. Plus, you've got to find the weaknesses of the opponent, depending sometimes during the game of what they're exposing, because they could have, set up a whole different tactical approach. So I'm trying to not deviate here. So we're going back to training without the ball. My question would be, what age would you implement that though? That tactical periodization. When would you implement that? If you're running a club, if you're a coach at any age group, when would you start to think about that in pre-season?
I'd probably start to look at it in like the youth development phase. So maybe looking at implement the real basics of it from under 12s, but then really kind of hone in at under 14s, 15s, and try and bring it in that way to them. So I think a lot of it, like you might give the basics to the under 12s, and then obviously as they go through kind of the maturation phase of like going through like 12s, 13s, 14s, as they're growing up, and as you mentioned earlier, the physical side of it gets like more important and it stands out more at that age. So I think that's when you have to try and implement some of the physical factors to almost get the edge, like you said earlier.
What about yourself, Kev? Very quiet, Kev.
No, I'm just listening because obviously the coaching that I've been through so far, I've not had that experience of obviously working with that sort of age group of players. So it's obviously something very new to me. I remember what it was like if you're talking about obviously the physical side of it, could we not try and get the physical side of it through like the small-sided games rather than, as you say, just getting someone running and the pre-season? I just think as long as you can hold on to a ball at any age group, I just feel obviously, you could obviously try and implement it in with a ball, so trying to keep with a ball as long as possible. But talking about going through the ages, it's not something that I've dealt with as of yet because I've not coached at them sort of age groups yet.
I love that humble response. I love that. I love that. I love when I hear a coach nowadays, because it's so difficult. I hear a coach saying, "Well, I haven't done that yet, and I haven't got an opinion. And when I go through that experience, I'll have one." I think that's huge. That's definitely the way to go about a lot of scenarios. And I think there's so many coaches out there that do talk without having the experience, and ex-professional players are one of them. That the reason they don't talk about youth development is because they've never been involved in youth development. That's why I think there's such a distance when you're listening to a professional coach to what you're feeling as a youth development coach. There's so much of a distance of understanding. The information is there, but it's so difficult to get on the same level of understanding, because dealing with an adult, dealing with a kid is a completely different matter. But I know for a fact that if you can deal with kids, you can deal with adults.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, like, as I say, I wouldn't want to I couldn't go into it too much because obviously I've not got that experience. I've seen things from afar and stuff, but I'm sort of the knowledge I have isn't as great as probably some of you guys who have worked with different sort of age groups, where I've sort of only worked with the youngsters so far. So something I will experience, but obviously until I come to that, I can't really say you should be doing this, or my opinion on it is that X, Y, Z sort of thing.
Cool. Chey, what have you got to say, Chey?
I'm just saying with Kevin, because I never done this like working with like old age groups. It's most times always been with youth, but for me, I would say do it. But for me, I always start with like warm ups and cool downs without the ball before to start moving on with the ball. But going through what James has mentioned about the age group, I will start from under 12, and then I'll start under 12 as like an introduction to them, and it's like just getting them to just get them to just
be comfortable on the ball and be comfortable with their bodies. Yeah. So I think being comfortable with your body is huge. Like being comfortable. No, it is. I mean, I'm not just saying from a physical image. I'm saying being able to balance, being able to stretch in many different positions, being able to keep healthy, being able to. We were talking about fitness the other day. That was another topic that we haven't brought in today. but you know, should coaches keep fit? And when we say fit, it's not about, you know, having a six pack and having, you know, a good body for anybody else but yourself. It's about having the ability to feel healthy, having the ability to have self-discipline, having the ability to, you know, worry and care about that area of your life as you're in sport, and it's related to mobility. So that's definitely a topic that we're not going to go into today, but it's definitely a topic that we spoke about yesterday, and it's on that live that we shared on social media. So Ryan,
can I just add one last thing?
Yeah, go Chey.
I was going to say that also the fact is that the bodies are starting to change when it started school, especially like for other trying to start like high school, and like the bodies start to change. So that's why it's like it's best to try when their bodies start to change so that they will understand a bit more.
So you agree with James when he said about that maturation age of 12, 13, 14, when they start hitting puberty, when they start developing muscles, when, you know, some of them grow fucking taller than us, and you get a bit worried. and then there's the opposite of those that really need help and really need to develop their awareness and their game and spatial awareness, timing, and, you know, their mental game, because they're gonna suffer in the physical conditioning area or that physical part. Cool. So I really enjoyed today. It's not actually easy to do these, because I think a lot of people, the reason that we're doing it, which I think is huge, is to get coaches out of their shell a little bit as well. Everybody in coaching, you know, has an opinion. It's cool that we can just come together and have a chat. And I'm sure that maybe not during or before this, but after this, you'll feel a lot more creative, a lot more willing, a lot more motivated to do something, or even get in touch with other coaches, which I think is a good moment to, because, you know, obviously closed doors. I could speak to my missus, but she hates me talking about football. So I'd rather speak with you guys that have got a love for the game and share the same passion. And Ryan and I will be obviously hoping that we could get some of your feedback from this experience. And what I'm gonna personally ask you to do is, could you take one screenshot on the keyboard? It says IMP print or whatever, just a quick screenshot. And it'll be awesome if you could just post it on your social media. And then also if you could give us some feedback, like on our social media, kind of like saying, I went on the coach's room, it was absolutely shit. I didn't enjoy a minute of it, and I'm never going to do that again. That would be great. You know, whatever you want to post, that's totally fine. And we're going to finish it off right with Q&A. So if anybody's got any questions they want to ask any of us, okay, we're just going to quickly finish off with some like open questions about whatever.
Can I just say one thing? Just obviously, Chey, Kev, James, and Pogi as well. You know, cheers for doing this. You know, it's not easy to have an opinion and voice it, and then maybe get it picked apart. I know me and James McGowan have really built up a good relationship, really close relationship this year, where we've been really honest and able to throw ideas out and pick each other apart, and we'll ultimately come to a better conclusion. So, you know, thank you for coming on and being honest and being open with your ideas. And, you know, it's been a really intriguing debate.
No, I appreciate the invite, obviously, because as I say, I've not got the most experience, but, you know, networking and learning off others, whether that's through social media or talking to people, it's the only way you're going to learn. Because obviously what I try to do is, through everything that I do, whether that's watching someone else's session, I might take something away from it and think, I can do that, but might put a twist on it to, you know, I always just try and take something off everything. So this is great for me and my development personally. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Kev.
Cool.
For me, I'd say, you know, it's actually been a big pleasure. You know, I've been loving football like ever since I can remember, and the fact that I can just like get to share ideas and just be creative and imaginative, as I've been described a lot with other people, towards you guys, and also get to learn from you guys as well. And also that, like, again, Harry, I've been like a really big fan of your page on Instagram of all the your drills and everything. I'm actually used some of your drills like obviously not with the old age group, but I use some of the drills that's like about under 9s or the 10s, and also and like you know what, I actually enjoyed it. My team actually enjoyed it. I even like shared your page onto my my club's group chat on WhatsApp,
Appreciate
and I
that,
think
brother.
some of them actually did use it itself. But like, you know, just keep doing your. It's like, you know, just keep doing your thing, and so like, you know, I'm looking forward to see any new drills and all that kind of stuff. It's so
Chey, you're wasting time saying, go and ask your questions. Ask the questions. You got me here.
Right,
what questions have you got to ask? You know, take that time to get stuff while you got the chance.
I'm okay. I'm done. Okay, I'm done. Thanks, man.
No, mate, I appreciate it. I appreciate the love and I appreciate you sharing. And at the end of the day, that's why I started off. That's why I started sharing, and that's why Ryan and I have decided to do this. At the end of the day, it's just getting to know each other. We're human beings. I mean, we're behind a platform. We're in front of a mobile, but it's good to just, you know, be a human for at least 30 minutes a day or an hour a day, and just share a few comments, a few you know, different ideas that are running through your head, a few insecurities, a few you know, moments where you can develop yourself. So I really appreciate that, and hopefully I can continue helping you and all the coaches out there that need a little bit of a push. So yeah, appreciate that, mate.
All right, let's get to questions.
Well, I've got a question. You know, we talk about the physical side and stuff. Just an opinion. I just obviously. Surely the technical side is more difficult to develop than the physical side. So is it not better to focus on the technical side? Because as you get, obviously the older you get, you can, like obviously with late developers and stuff, that can come together. Like a small player who's technically better will obviously, I don't know how to explain it, like the physical side will be easier for him to learn, rather than a big player who's physical will find it more difficult to learn the technical side of the game.
Yeah, Kev, I can...
Yeah, go Ray.
Kev, I completely agree with that. That sometimes you can't control what happens physically. You know, sometimes you're 6'4", sometimes you're 5'11". You can't control that, can you?
No, of course.
Obviously, being at the bottom of the kind of the ladder at under 6 level, that me and James have found out that, and James Pogue as well in the summer, that giving them a ball and just allowing them to explore. How can I control it this way? What happens if I touch the ball that way with this part of the foot? What happens if the ball bounces like this? Just giving them that freedom to kind of go, I wonder what happens next, is actually so beneficial for them, because they'll find their own solutions and they'll find their own way. And that technical side is really invaluable.
I'm gonna go a little bit more blunt than that and ask you a question, Kev, which is, where do you think you learn technique? Where do you think the Brazilians learn the technique?
What, through? I think a lot of the technique, like I think they're big on the futsal out there, aren't they? So obviously,
well, that's the thing. And what is futsal?
Well, I haven't got a great understanding of it, but it's obviously, on my understanding, it's a five-a-side game where you could effectively have double the amount of touches than what you would in a normal football game, playing with a smaller, harder ball, so it's kept on the ground. So obviously, the more you have to touch the ball, rather than, you know, if you're in a bit of trouble in a football pitch, you can go long or you can do whatever. So you have to be technically able to get yourself out of situations and be comfortable on the ball.
Totally agree. But what's more important, being able to do techers or being able to know when to turn and when not to turn?
Decision making is key, because obviously your decision making will obviously, you know, it opens up the door to whether you're going to be free to open up and have a run, or whether you're going to lose the ball. So I think you need to be able to make a decision in football, be a quick thinker.
But then you need to make the decision depending on your technical ability. So
yeah, of course.
So where I'm going with this, or where I'm trying to go is, you know, I believe you can put them in the environment that will help their technique, you know, develop. What I don't believe is you can teach a kid to pass the ball like David Beckham you know, passes it. You know, I believe that you can put them in an environment where they can discover. I believe that you have no control over how they do it. You can only have control over why they're doing it.
No, I agree. Obviously, they've got to learn to want to, obviously, to do these things, to be able to learn to pass and to be able to, you know. But yeah, no, I agree. You can give them the tools, but how they use them is up to them.
Yeah, well, you give them the opportunity. At the end of the day, this is the thing that I learned, like, after a lot of time. you can't control the execution.
Yeah.
You can't even control the awareness of a player. You can only put them in an environment where they can develop that and try and ask them the questions throughout that hopefully one day out of the 120 sessions you do with them a year, things click, you know, and they discover something new, or they discover, but you know, the technical ability, I don't know what you think, James, but I find it very, very difficult to know any coach that has helped like a player become technical.
I think at the end of the day, like the question I would pose, and it's quite a deep question, like what is technique? Because I think when you break it down, it's, is there a right way or a wrong way to go and score a goal? Is there a right or wrong way to tackle? It's whatever works for that individual, and if it works for them, why are we as coaches trying to change it? Look at
Wan-Bissaka. I mean, so many coaches would say, don't slide tackle, stay on your feet. Maldini, one of the best defenders in the world, his approach was, if you dive in, you've already made a mistake.
I think when you look at it as well, like, if you look at, David De Gea is another one, like, probably 60% of his saves with his feet. And I think
slated for it his first year.
A lot of the time he saves with his feet, and that's what works for him. And I think if somebody tries to coach that out of him, he wouldn't be one of the best keepers in the world right now.
I think, James, what you just said then really summed it up. Kind of, it's what works for you. As long as you get that end product that you desire, it's what works for you. I think to put it into that's kind of hit the nail on the head. That
I think to put it into a bit of a context for us as coaches, if we're telling a player how to do something and telling them a technique or a method of how to do it, that's like a coach educator telling us how to coach, and we know as coaches that it's so open and that you can coach in so many different ways. Well, that's the same for the players. They can do so many things in so many different ways, and they need the time. They need to be given the time to discover. And I think that's the same with us as coaches, just to put that into a bit of context.
Cool. And did that help you out, Kev?
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, it does help. Yeah.
Did that help? It's important that obviously we like putting into context is key, and trying to understand just the open-mindedness that we need in this game is crucial. More questions. Let's try and change topic. What you got, Chey?
Oh, yeah, I've got to shoot, Harry. So thank you for you and Ryan inviting us on. But I've got to go. So I'll be off at 8 o'clock. So I'll speak to you all later. Thank you for having us in.
No problem, James.
See you later, lads.
See you soon.
Yeah, mate.
See you soon, mate.
Peace. See you, mate.
Right, we'll have a couple more and then we'll head off because my missus is giving me that look.
I think a question I had related back to the last point we made about training without a ball, and we spoke about kind of developing physical characteristics. I think it's important, like we mentioned, you'd bring in kind of the gym and the physical side of it under 12s and kind of gym at 14s, 15s, 16s. I think to do it more effectively or more efficiently, we have to break the physical side of it down, because I know me and Ryan do a lot of work at the moment on like ABCs with the under 6s, and that's probably when it's key, because that's still in their kind of prime learning zone. Whereas I think the actual physical, in terms of muscle development, obviously comes at a later stage, but stuff like ABCs are really, really important and should be developed, in my opinion, at the under 6 age group.
I think that they're, especially when we've talked about it, we've devoted 20 minutes of our hour slot with them to ABCs. Let's see what we can work on with them. And because it's that key, even if they don't go on to play football, if you look at tennis or badminton, you still need all your ABCs. It's not just football, it's developing them as just sports people as well. You know, you're not just specialising, you're giving them this big kind of broad range to go. If you don't want to play football, we've given you the characteristics, or we let you kind of explore the characteristics of yourself of, right, you can change direction really quickly. Maybe try tennis, or you've got great coordination, try badminton.
Yeah.
You know,
I think all of you pointed out something that I think is really, really interesting, and it's to do with kind of like, you can always put a ball in, doesn't matter if it's 12, 13, 14, no matter how old you get, you can always introduce a ball, even if it's doing abs, you know what I mean? So, but one thing I find that's key, that a lot of people like reading about these professional coaches is, don't do physical conditioning if you're not a physical conditioning expert. And the reason why I say this is, I get a lot of questions about this topic, and I'm like, well, I don't know. You know, I don't know a lot about scientifically talking or speaking. I can't assure that anything. I think even the people that have devoted their life to how to make players quicker, they're still unsure how to, you know,
They're still
avoid
searching
injury.
for the answer, aren't they?
Yeah, they're still searching. So if you're a coach, you know, focus on the game rather than focus on how you're going to develop them physically, even if they're 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old. Don't get into weights and sending them individual. This is a big mistake. A lot of coaches do it. They're like, now they're sending them kind of like all these workouts, and they've got no fucking idea what these workouts are actually doing to the player's body. Because there's no control over their technique while they're doing them. There's no interaction with the player while he's doing them either. So it could be a player that, you know, they just send them these individual programs or these PDFs. I'll get this done with no supervision whatsoever. And one, you don't know if a player's actually doing it or not. So you can, like, invisible training. So what happens is then we do a group session, and that we put on a hard session, you know. Two of them might not have even done the session from before. Two of them end injured by the time you get back on the field, or end up injured during that session, and you don't understand why. So I think it's so important to not go into areas which you're not sure about, and rather ask a person that is sure about it, you know. And this goes back to what Kevin said.
I think what you spoke about there, Harry, is I think it's kind of leading on to my I want to kind of propose a question to kind of everyone. We've obviously talked a lot. Obviously, the first point tonight was about tactics. You know, we've talked about technical development as well, and then we've also talked about physical differences here, there, and everywhere. But I don't think we've really touched about psychology. Obviously, you know, your fourth corner and obviously your FA four corner model. I had a recent conversation with a doctor in psychology, and she was asking me at what point do the Preston North End players get a psychologist in? Is what age does the psychologist come in and start talking to the players? And I didn't have the answers because I'm not too sure. But to the floor, kind of, what does everyone think about psychology, and at what age does it start to become quite a prominent kind of key role in our performance as a player?
I think psychology is important all the way through, isn't it? If you get players, even in the pre-academy, you see it now, where players are shy and they're not so confident, so they won't even go into the changing room, so that therefore kind of impacts on their social abilities. Then it might then impact their ability to get involved within the session, which then impacts obviously their technical abilities within the session. So I'm not saying it's vital at that age group, but I think it plays a role, and I'm not suggesting get a psychologist in at that age, because I don't agree with that, but I think it obviously plays a role at the younger age groups. And I think, well, you look at the professional game now, I'd say the majority of that is psychology based.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like everyone's different, every age. Like, for example, in my team, I've got a lad in my team. He's very quiet. He doesn't talk. He doesn't socialise. He literally will come and turn up, and he'll hide behind his mum. And so I've had a chat with his parents, and I've said, "Is he okay in it? Is he enjoying it?" And they're like, "Yeah, he just suffers with really bad anxiety. So he'll get in, he'll join in the session, but he won't ever shout for the ball, and he won't ever." So it depends on the individual, I really think, depending on how they are as a person, how they're feeling. It's just obviously gauging it and just dealing with them on an individual basis, I think.
I think there's a lot of work that we can do. I think there's a lot of work.
There's loads of work we can do. I think 70% of what we do needs to be based on psychology.
I agree with that completely.
Mentally fit people are, you know, happier people for one, which I think is the end goal. And secondly, you know, coming to an environment where you feel happy, where you feel, you know, cared for, where you feel loved, where you feel that you can express yourself, be yourself, and develop yourself and ask questions without being humiliated and all these different things is something that we are in charge of.
Definitely, mate. I completely agree with that.
And that's why we play football, doesn't it? Because it makes us happy and we enjoy doing it. Otherwise, there's no point in doing it. It's not. It shouldn't be a chore. It's a hobby at the end of the day, or like a career that you want to take. So I'm happiest when I'm on the football pitch. When I go, whether I'm playing football, whether I'm coaching, whatever worries I have before I walk through that session, for the 60 minutes or whatever, I don't have a care in the world, because that is my happy place, and that obviously, it allows me to deliver what I want to deliver because it's my happy place. No matter what mood it is before I go onto the ground.
Exactly. And it can easily stop being your happy place as well. And we can easily be a part of it, not being a happy place for players at the same time. And I'm just going to wrap this one up with something that I discovered a lot. I went to Malta to a retreat. My brother's a chef. He's a vegan chef. He works a lot with retreats and stuff like that, and coaches. But not coaches as in football coaches, coaches as in psychological coaches, coaches that deal with businesses, people and stuff like that. And I was, for the first time in my life, was coached, but coached from a professional, not coached from a manager or something like that that's trying to win the league. So he was asking me all these different questions. Funny that, isn't it? He was asking me questions, not telling me what to do. And the greatest thing at the end of it, he says, Harry, you know who are the people that have psychologists? And you know who the people that have coaches? And normally coaches or psychologists. Because they know that there's a need to have a coach, to have a psychologist. It's not something negative that somebody sits down with you once a week or once a month and you have a discussion where they ask about you, they actually give you feedback for your best interest and you're able to express yourself. And in today's society, it's getting in more and more need, because all we have is this, and our interaction is limited to a few comments or a few DMs or whatnot. And having this that we're doing now is stimulating all of us, and creating a safe environment where everybody can develop and everybody can discuss and have their own opinion. So you as a coach, if I came on here and you guys didn't feel comfortable by now, I would be like, shit, I'm not a very good coach. I'm not a very good manager, because at the end of the day, if Ryan and I are trying to manage an environment that we're trying to make positive and where people can discuss themselves, you've got to be able to do that in all the areas of your life. You can't just decide that when you go on the pitch, you're a coach and all you're doing, it relates to a lot more aspects, I believe. That's why if I want players to express themselves and be brave, I need to be brave and I need to express myself to be in that comfortable area asking for that. The reason that I started posting and giving and sharing all the drills and whatnot is I wanted to overcome fear, because I want players to overcome fear when they're put under the spotlight, and I needed to live that. I needed to find out what it was like to be able to then help others develop the same area. So going back to, if we go into psychology, right, this probably is a conversation that we could go on for ages, but yeah, I definitely think that if you're a coach, you should have a coach. If you're a coach and you don't have a mentor, you're going to struggle. If you're a coach and you're not asking questions, you're going to struggle to develop. If you're not putting yourself out there in situations like this where you're, listening and hearing, and it's not always comfortable, it's not always out of one course or one webinar, you might be able to get one thing, but that one thing inspires you to create your philosophy, to do this, to do that, So it might be an hour's time, but 10 minutes is all you need, but that 10 minutes is taking you on a different pathway that if you weren't in that scenario, you weren't in that situation, if you weren't in that discussion or that webinar, you might have gone down a different route. So, Netflix is not going to give you the next way to develop. It's making that decision on a daily basis, and Netflix is nice, PS4 is cool, but these kids, I think they have a similar situation where it's PS4 now. Becoming a YouTuber, we discussed this yesterday, didn't we, right? Becoming a YouTuber now, you can almost earn as much money as if you're a footballer. So why the fuck are they going to go on a football pitch when they can sit at home, zone out, do the same thing, earn the same amount of money, have the same amount of girls, and all this, different materialistic stuff that people value when they're kids. So we're the only kind of reason that they're going to carry on coming or decide to leave football at a younger age and start, paying attention to other things that bring them a lot more happiness, joy, and allow them to. I mean, I went on to play FIFA the other day with 2 or 3 of my players, and they spoke to me so freely. It was unbelievable. Like some of them had never spoken to me, or in such, you know, a calm manner. They're always kind of, and on the PS4 behind the screen and with their earphones, they become people. You know, it's crazy, ludicrous. So if we haven't got like, and I'm now worried. I'm like, shit. The environment of the football pitch isn't good enough. It's not safe enough. They don't feel safe enough, or they don't feel comfortable enough to express themselves in front of their other teammates. Or, you know, there's always areas to develop. So just trying to wrap this one up. I'm going to head off now. If anybody's got any last results, I really appreciate, as Brian said, we really appreciate your time. We really appreciate your initiative. Hopefully you've taken something away from this, even if it's, you know, a cup of tea. And hopefully we can, if you can get a screenshot now and share it on your social media and just talk about your experience on here, it'll be awesome. We appreciate that a lot. And next week, we're probably going to jump on and do another one. If you are interested in taking part of next week's as well, you're more than welcome but we'll probably try and get some new people each week, but we might always invite another guest or something like that. We'll try and figure out. We're trying to figure this out as we go along, aren't we, right?
Yeah, mate. It's a work in progress, isn't it?
So, any last thoughts, feelings that you would like to share?
No, just obviously appreciate the invite. I've enjoyed it, so thank you.
Cheers, Kev. Thank you.
Yeah, no, obviously thanks very much for the invite. Obviously Ryan today, well this morning, just sent me over a message. I think it's really important that, as you said, Harry, we do this as coaches because it's going to help our development more than anything. I think that's really important. I know some of the guys that I know and I work with would really like something like this. So yeah,
Cool.
no, it's good.
Awesome. Appreciate that.
Cheers, guys.
Well,
Thank you very much.
Perfect.
Take care,
Take care of
guys.
yourselves.
see you later.
Stay safe.
See you later, mate.
See you guys.
See you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. I'm going to re-invite you again, mate, because I've got 2 minutes left.
No props.
All right. And we can just have a normal conversation this time.